To be honest, we were supposed to play Millwall away on the Saturday, and we were told just on the Friday that wasn't going to go ahead, and we trained as normal because we didn't know when the next training session was going to be, and then we just went home, and then it was we were told then, obviously, I think there was meetings again on the Monday, and we were told that it was going to be shut down for the next couple of weeks, and then we kind of didn't know when to shut the players down because it seemed to be the updates every week, Nathan, and then it was like, oh, there's another week before we're back training, and another week, and then we got to a stage where they were talking, back training around this time, so I think we give the lads a couple of weeks sort of just shut down and do nothing, like a closed season sort of period, and then they had their individual programs to keep on top of and try and build up now to Monday again. But the other problem we do have now, we still don't have an actual date when the season's going to start, so in pre-season, it's kind of a pre-season. We'll have to go through again. Now, you always have a date when the first game is, but at the minute we don't have that date. Maybe we will have before Monday, but I think it's always good to have a date to work towards for the players and the team. Yeah,
it seems from the meeting today that the Championship is definitely planning on coming back, because I know there was a lot of letters going around earlier in the week from certain clubs saying that they didn't feel it was financially viable for the season to come back and to just end it right now, but it does look as though potentially around the same time as the Premier League, that sort of weekend of June 20th, June 26th, 27th. Like, from your point of view, are you happy to go back into work? Have you concerns about going back into work?
No, I don't. I don't have any concerns. No, I think, we're taking all the right measurements. As I say, the medical team at Derby, and especially the doctor's been brilliant in the last few weeks. He's, we talk about us being sort of at home, but he's been sort of up to his eyes in meetings and researching and different things and protocols and what have you, and he's been absolutely brilliant by getting everything together. And he was in this morning, 7 o'clock, and through every single player and getting us all ready to go on Monday. So I think all the protocols right. I think we'll do as we're sort of allowed to do for the first week or so, and then hopefully as the weeks sort of lean off, we'll get more time to get into the serious stuff of contact and getting the team shape and whatever you have to do leading up to a game, Nathan. We have to get back on the saddle, as they say.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to be having a lot of conversations with players, and it's probably been happening already for young players in particular, especially those who've probably come from abroad and have found themselves quite isolated for the last couple of months and may have their own worries. And listen, people have wives and girlfriends who might be pregnant, or they might be going home, they might be still living with their parents, there could be underlying health conditions. There's a lot that's going to go into this, and a very different probably attitude managers are going to have, where it's such a cutthroat industry that you're going to have to be probably a little bit more sympathetic towards players over the next few months.
Yeah, I think, as I say, one coat doesn't fit all, whatever that's saying. I can't even think of that saying now, actually, but one doesn't fit everyone, because everyone's got different, as you say. You could be living with your elderly parents. You could have, I think the Troy Deeney story was quite relevant this week, because he had a 6-month-old baby who has breathing problems, so he's like, well, I'm not going to go into training to risk, that baby's life, and you can totally understand that. So I think managers and coaches will have to be really understanding with really individual situations, because everyone's different. If you're a young lad and you're living on your own or whatever, then there's no issue. But if you've got, as I say, young kids or, an elderly parent, or even not even an elderly parent, someone who maybe has asthma or breathing difficulties or anything like that, there's lots of different things you have to take into consideration. And every situation, every single player is probably different. And that's the sort of tricky one for the manager when we get back going again. Everyone probably won't be able to train the first day because for different reasons probably, but I think the majority, speaking to the sort of lads as a group, that the majority are ready to go, I think.
Yeah, it is tricky, particularly at clubs in the Championship, where there's so much money going to be at stake in what's probably going to be a really rushed 4 or 5 week period where you're trying to play those last 8-9 games. And you look at Derby, 12th in the table, but you're only 5 points off the playoff places with 9 matches remaining. So there's no reason why you can't go on a run, and you want all your best players playing. But as you say, Troy Deeney, N'Golo Kante with Chelsea possibly not coming back either this season, that unfortunately some decisions, it may not be finished in the fairest manner possible, but it does seem that the best thing for clubs financially is that this just has to be finished one way or another.
Yeah, I think that's ideally, obviously the safety has to be taken into consideration, and as I say, I think we're following the right protocol for that. But I think every football fan wants the season to be finished. I suppose you speak to any Liverpool fan in Ireland at the minute, they'd be like desperate to get the season finished, because they will be crowned champions, and rightly so, but they don't want the season to be finished now and have a little exclamation mark next to the title and say, well, they won it by default a little bit because it wasn't finished off, because they deserve it. They've been brilliant this year, and I think only right that they won the league, and I think it'd be great for the Premier League. Again, it's been such a long time since Liverpool have won the league. I think it'd be fantastic again for the brand of the Premier League around the world that a big club like Liverpool have won it again, and it's not just the same team. Like Man City obviously won it for a few years now, but Liverpool now are very, very strong, and I think it's only right that they won the Premier League this year and get the chance to lift the trophy, albeit it might be a bit strange, not in front of a crowd or whatever. That will be a bit surreal, but at the same time, you can't take away from the season that they've had.
How have you found this season? Last year was obviously almost such an incredible season, getting to the playoff final before ultimately losing to Villa. Philippe Cocu comes in place of Frank Lampard, and some of the players go. I think the last match we did here and Off the Ball was the Chelsea game where Mason Mount was just exceptional. Some of those young players ended up leaving the club, and it's been a bit more of a struggle this year. Has it been? Have you felt more of a strain when the victories haven't come as easily?
Yeah, I mean we've had a sort of relatively poor start. The first half of the season, relatively poor. If being honest, Nathan, we didn't start so well. But we missed. You take Mason Mount, Harry Wilson, and Fakai Tamuri, who are all performing really well in the Premier League now. And they were probably our three best players last year. Take them three out of the team, and any team was struggling in the Championship. But we had a slow start, and then of course Wayne Rooney signed. I think he signed last summer, but he couldn't play obviously in January, and I think he's made a big difference as well. I think his experience and his quality within the team, the run we've been on, the results speak for itself. I think he brings a real presence to the team, and he's been a big help as well. And even before this lockdown, we felt we're on a really good run. We're in a good form, good run, and yourself in the Championship, if you can do that leading into the the playoff situations, then anything's possible. We've seen many teams go on a late run and sneak in, and then before they know they're in the Premier League. So we've still got aspirations to be there or thereabouts come the end of the season, but we have to play these, as you say, remaining games really.
Have you spent much time talking football with Rooney? I know anyone who's talked about his managerial aspirations says this is a guy who certainly seems to be able to think around the game in the right way and potentially could go quite a way. Do you see that something that he might go down that route quite quickly?
I think so, yeah. I still think, he's got a couple of years left to play, and I hope he plays, because I've obviously been there myself. Yeah, you want to play as long as you can, and I think the coaching will always be there for him. That's what I believe, and I do believe he will become a good manager wherever, whenever he decides to do that. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to football. He knows, he knows systems. He knows how he wants to set his team up, and he's super positive that he can be a success in that, and time will tell, of course, but he's been at the top of the game for his whole career, let's be honest here. And I think, he demands respect off the players straight away. And I think it'll be the same when he becomes a manager. So, but at the minute, me with my coaching head on, I'd want Wayne to play for another, obviously sign for another year. But, even if he does well next season, to maybe extend it by another year. And of course, learn off someone like Philippe Cocu and the coaches at the club. He's very much part of the staff meetings and stuff as well, and has his input in them as well, and puts his ideas across, and you can see he's got a bright future in the coaching side of things also. Yeah,
he clearly has the right attitude as well, because it goes without saying the characters and the type of quality of player that he has played with throughout his career, that he is willing to go and play in the Championship and go with young players and be alongside young players who are going to make naturally a lot of mistakes. And I'm sure inside a lot of players of his talent would get so frustrated they just wouldn't be able to cope with it. But that's another sign, I guess, that there's something in him that as a coach he would have that level of patience and would be able to pass things on to players that maybe certain players of his talent wouldn't.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, if you see him train now, I mean, he's probably the first out there and the last in as well. And, that I know some people say that a lot about a lot of players, but genuinely he just wants to keep improving. He wants to become better. And what that does, Nathan, it filters down through the team and the squad and the young players and thinking, God, if Wayne Rooney's out there practicing his finishing and practicing free kicks or practicing delivery on set plays or whatever, then, I'm not going in early. I'm going to go out after him because he's had that amazing career, and probably that's why. It's not sometimes by luck, or you do have a certain talent, of course you do, but it's not by being last on the pitch and first one to leave. You have to work hard at it, and I think he's done that throughout his career. And for me as a coach now, it's quite refreshing to see him out there. He's always wanting to do kind of borrow a keeper to do some extra finishing, or kind of do some set plays or do some free kicks over the wall, kind of get a kick. He's always trying to. One day I was doing kicking with one of the goalkeepers. He came over and he started showing the young goalkeeper how to kick the balls. Like different things like that. He's always wanting to help everyone he can, and that's the person he is. He's very humble. He's wanting to improve everybody, and I think, as I say, give the whole squad a real big lift.
Can you get him to spend plenty of time with Jason Knight?
Yeah, I mean, 90, I can imagine like playing along with Rooney. I mean, I'm only the coach, or one of the coaches, but Jason Knight now is his teammate, and if he scores a goal, then Wayne Rooney's hugging him and stuff. It probably feels a bit surreal for some of the players. I know Max Bird was in midfield as well. He's a big hero, Wayne Rooney. But for Jason Knight, young Irish lad from Dublin, and his teammate or his captain is Wayne Rooney. So it's the stuff of dreams, really. But Knighty's been absolutely brilliant for us this season. I think he's got a massive future ahead of him, and he's hungry to do well as well, and you just wish him well. Obviously, being from Ireland as well, you give him that extra support when you can do. But he's a fantastic professional as well. He's always wanting to do more. You have to actually drag him off the training ground as well. He's so hungry to be the best he can, and I see a big future for him.
Yeah, and it's funny, for some of those players, the future could come along far quicker than they expected because, well, ideally this time of the year we would have been preparing for Euro 2020, and it would have been very much a squad that Mick McCarthy would have got us there with, and that band of under-21s that Stephen Kenny was working with would probably have to wait for a Euro finals. Yeah. Whereas now, actually, Stephen Kenny, as we know, is in. Playoffs potentially may not be for nearly another year till next March. That actually, these guys, when football does resume from an international point of view, will be looking at a very different landscape.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head. Stephen Kenny knows, someone like, for example, Jason Knight extremely well. And as you say, if he's playing for another year in the Championship, week in, week out, and playing to the levels that I think he can play at, then he will be knocking on the door for sure, and it's not someone that Stephen Kenny doesn't know. He knows him really well, and not just Knight. I'm sure there's a number of the under-21 players will be thinking, this is my chance now. I've got a real chance of breaking into the senior squad and pushing the senior lads. And of course that's good, because the senior lads will be looking over their shoulder thinking, well, who's coming through, like in my position, and that's only good for the team, for the competition. It's a healthy thing to have people pushing each other and trying to get into that squad, and Knighty's no different. He'll be desperate to play for Ireland's senior team, and I know he will do one day for sure. And with Stephen Kenny, as I say, he knows him really well.
Was it the right thing to do from an Irish point of view to make that cut at that time from Mick McCarthy to Stephen Kenny with everything that happened?
I don't think it was right from day one, to be honest. The whole setup it just didn't feel right for me at all, with Mick McCarthy coming in and Stephen Kenny coming in after 2 years. I just don't think it was a good setup at all from day one. I don't know. That's just my opinion. If Mick had got to, say, the semi-finals of the Euros like Chris Coleman did with Wales a few years back, but what we would have done then, say to Mick, thanks very much, see you later. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I just didn't sit right with me. For whatever reason, didn't sit right with me from day one, And of course, now that they made the decision about Stephen Kenny, then we have to get behind Stephen now and back him and stuff, and get behind him 100%. Like every other Irish manager, we would do that 100%. For me personally, the whole thing, the whole setup didn't seem to be right in favour of either Mick or Stephen. I don't think it was a good situation for either of them. But that's the sort of position that they were put in, I suppose. And now we wish Stephen well. We want him to do well for the country. We hope he has a successful period, of course we do, and gets us to the Euros.
The last couple of months then, while some of us have, spent our days watching many, many box sets and maybe playing a bit too much Football Manager, I'm looking at some of the staff out there, not myself, of course. You've been working hard. I see you're on the bike all the time, so you're keeping fit, which is good. Yes, but you've also been working on a new initiative, sharegiven.co.uk, which is aimed at raising funds so you can supply PPE and supply masks to the NHS and to the HSE here in Ireland. Will you tell us a little bit about it and how you got involved?
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Rob Noble, who's probably the mastermind behind it, really. I'm just, obviously lending my support and speaking to guys like you and different sort of media outlets here in the UK as well. And it's important, I suppose, Nathan, to tell you guys, it's obviously the Irish hospitals as well, the HSE in Ireland, not just the NHS. And people click on the website, caregiven, as you say, .co.uk, and sometimes there's a map on there and it shows, I think, a couple of hospitals in Northern Ireland and just hospitals in the UK, and people go, well, he's not supporting us, but I am. What I would say to the hospitals in the Republic of Ireland is they need to contact Frontline, who's one of our partners. If they need PPE, then they will send the PPE to them, and then they'll be on the map. So I think that's an important message to get across as well. But just personally, it was kind of like, it's sometimes easy to sit back and do nothing, Nathan, and watch somebody else do something. We just felt, can we do something? As I say, Rob sort of got a background in website design and things like that. He's a sort of a guy with that sort of brain, and then obviously with the sort of connection that I have as well, I thought it would be good just to get the sort of media side of things and try and get people to donate. Really, the thing about ours as well is 100% not for profit. So every penny goes to masks and stuff to the front line, and there's no sort of middleman. I know a lot of people do a lot of great work, and sometimes you wonder where it goes, the money sometimes, but, with us it's directly to the PPE, and, I think we're up to something like 25,000 masks already or something, so Brilliant. We're very grateful for all the people who've donated, and we just hope that obviously people in Ireland can get behind it as well, because it does help their hospitals as well, and as I say, just sort of going back over what I said, the Irish hospitals, if they contact Frontline Direct, and they can send the PPE to them, and they're one of our partners. So I just think it's something that we felt that we could do, and try and, the job, we talk about football heroes and things and sporting heroes all the time, Nathan, but, the hospital heroes and the frontline workers and the people every day who are, trying to keep us all safe, really, and it's not just a 9 to 5 job, Monday to Friday, it's, it's 24/7, morning, noon and night, these people are working, and the job they do is incredible, and we just felt we could get behind them and try and support them, because the least they should have is the right equipment when they go and face this COVID-19. They should have the right equipment when they go in the front line.
Yeah, and really fundraisers like this shouldn't be needed, that for basic equipment it should be supplied to the staff that need them, but it's brilliant that you're doing it. And you touched there about a game that was called off, and it's funny that last night we had in the office here, football was still due to happen that weekend, and then I remember going home and it was announced that Mikel Arteta
that's right,
turned out to be positive, and suddenly all football was off very quickly, and football has really been at the epicentre of this, and what's been, it seems, a complete mess at times in England. Have you kept a close eye? Have you been worried during this about the way it's been handled by the British government?
I don't know the ins and outs of how it spreads and what have you. With so much media stuff and so many people saying so many different things, Nathan, it's really hard to keep up with. And sometimes when you look at so much media as well, and it's just all negative, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful thing to you guys, that's your job, but sometimes that can drag you down a bit as well. It's all, obviously the amount of people who's dying and stuff, and the people have got the virus, and it's just can drag you down mentally as well. And I think it's important that people sort of, we have to keep up with it a little bit, but don't have it on 24/7. I think it's important that, you sort of take a step back as well from it and try and look at the positives in life. As you say, I've been out on my bikes in the last 6 weeks. I've got the road bike back out again, and just refreshing. I just got back from an hour and a half on the bike now to be out on the road. I don't know, 40 or 50 kilometres, whatever I did, but just to, clear the head a bit, and just, I don't know, it's a tough time for a lot of people at the minute, but you can still go for a run or go get on your bike or do whatever, just try and keep that sort of fitness up a wee bit, and try and, it helps clear your mind. Mental health as well, it's really important, because it's very easy to get into a bit of a sticky patch mentally as well, and I think it's important that people try and stay active and try and look at the positives and think, hopefully we'll be out of this situation soon, and we stick together and stick to what the government are saying and the experts are saying, and hopefully we'll be out the other side of it, and that's key. It's not going to last forever, we hope, and we'll be back to normality soon.
Well, let's finish on a positive then, Shay. The Donegal Mount Rushmore has been selected. So we've been running this series over the last few weeks, and it's going to go on for several more months, I think, at this stage, because we're going through all 32 counties and picking a Mount Rushmore. So the 4 greatest sporting heroes from a particular county. And Donegal came up just a couple of weeks ago. There was a lot of debate. Our very own producer and presenter of Team 33, Enda Call, was one of those on the judging panel, alongside Kieran Cunningham, the chief sports writer with the Irish Daily Star. And they came up with their final 4. I'll run through it, Shay. Michael Murphy, All-Ireland winner, Donegal's greatest ever footballer, got to be in there. Packy Bonner, arguably responsible for the greatest moment in Irish football history.
Yeah, I agree.
Sinead Lynch, who's done it all in pretty much every sport. Donegal's greatest all-round sports person, I think. And then you come to the 4th and you're thinking, who is it? Like Jim McGuinness. You think of Donegal, you think of Jim McGuinness. It's got to be Jim McGuinness, hasn't it? Or maybe it's Seamus Coleman. Like Seamus Coleman.
It should be Stuart Sinclair, then to go on there.
Not there. Who is it?
Not there.
But Shay Given. There you are. Congratulations. You're on the Donegal Mount Rushmore. How do you feel?
Unbelievable. Is there an award or something? Are they getting anything for this? Or are you going to post me something? Or what's happening? What happens next?
Yeah, it's with your fee.
It's with your fee. Obviously. What?
It's with your fee for this. It'll be there. Yeah, I'm sure by the end of this, there's just nobody working at the moment that can make the awards for the Mount Rushmore. You're going to be carved in stone somewhere in Donegal.
It's amazing. Fantastic. All joking aside, but there's been some fantastic sports people come out of Donegal, and obviously it's an honour to be talked about in that sense, But we're a very proud county, and we've got lots of sports stars over the years, So to manage to get in them 4 is pretty special, and I'm sure, the judging panel were spot on, but I'm sure, as you say, Jim McGuinness and Seamus Coleman, they'll have something else to say about that, and I'm sure many other sports stars from Donegal as well. But huge honour, Nathan, to be in there.
I'm delighted to hear it. Just on Packy, because there was a debate. At one stage, it was going to be just the one of you. And I think they were coming down on your side ahead of I was like, listen, Packy's on it. We get the two of them on there without question. But for you, do you become a goalkeeper if Packy Bonner isn't there?
I probably do. But obviously, when you're growing up as a kid watching the World Cups and the Euros and stuff, and Packy's from your own county, obviously that gives you that extra interest. Of course it does. He, as you say, that penalty save off Timofte, I still remember, the name, and he steps up Timofte, and Bonner saved it. It's kind of like, I think it's an Irish folklore, as you say. It's not just that. He made some fantastic games for Ireland over the years as well, not just that one save he made. He made, hundreds of saves, but the memories of that save, were, I think for us locally, I was jumped in the car, and we all into the local village in Lifford, and we were celebrating like we won the World Cup with the flags out the windows and blowing horns, and the memories as a kid growing up was very, very special. And Packy, obviously, 100,000,000% needs to be in that list, because, he's been a hero to a lot of people.
It must have been incredible pride, because the entire country did that when he saved the penalty. But to have been from Donegal, for this to have been the local boy being this superstar of Irish sport, it must have been a little bit more being from Donegal.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you feel that extra connection, don't you? I didn't know Packy really that well. I mean, I got his autograph, I think, once up at a Dublin at the hotel once with my dad, but I didn't know him personally, But you feel you do when someone's from your county, I know him, he knows me, and we were all in this together, But it gives you that extra edge, and then when he saves it, then I'm out in the garden myself, diving around, commentating on myself, saying I'm Packy Bonner, making saves and stuff, and that's just, great memories as a kid growing up, and a lot of reason why, the fans as well, that you speak to probably the older ones, the younger ones might won't even remember that, I suppose, but the older ones, it's you say probably one of the best memories is that save in the World Cup. It was just special, and you can remember Jack Charlton and all at the end, and Charlie Leary, all the Mick Byrne and all the guys, running onto the pitch. It's so clear in everyone's mind, I'd imagine, listening. It's just fantastic memories.
Shay, it's been brilliant to talk to you. Thanks a lot for taking the call. caregiven.co.uk is the website if people want to get involved and to support. And best of luck over the next few weeks. Hopefully everything works out. And we see you back in the football pitch with Derby very soon. Take it easy. Good luck.
I appreciate that. Thanks for your support. Thanks, Nathan.